Hey students, hope y'all are doing well. This week is our last week of our series called Atypical, and we're looking at one of the most entertaining and interesting stories of the whole series. We've talked about how families are imperfect and how sometimes hard conversations need to happen. We've said a lot about what does healthy family life look like, and we've looked at a lot of stories in the Bible of families who got it wrong. And we're thankful for that because if we're honest with ourselves, as we've said for all 4 weeks of the series, all of our families are imperfect. All of our families are messed up in some way. All of us are in need of Jesus. All of us have need of the gospel when it comes to our family life. And the story today is no different. Today we're looking at the story of Joseph. Now, Joseph had a few brothers, but among all of the brothers, Joseph was his father's favorite, and that was no secret. In fact, the Bible says explicitly that he was his father's favorite son. And one of the things that he did to show that was make him a coat of many colors. Think of it as like just a fancy jacket to wear. And so his father made it clear who the favorite son was. So you can already imagine why the brothers would have some issue with Joseph, right? Like they probably know that Joseph is their dad's favorite son. There's probably a little bitterness there, a little bit of anger there, but it gets worse because you see, Joseph has a dream that one day he will rule over his brothers. He will be in a position of authority over them, and probably unwisely, he tells them this. And so one day the brothers are all working in the field and Joseph comes along wearing this coat, and the brothers finally have enough. They snap. And what they do is they devise a plan to throw their brother in a well. They fake his death and they sell him into slavery. Now, talk about family problems. You've probably never dealt with anything like that in your family, at least I hope. But just imagine what it would have been like for Joseph. So this week in our series is all about forgiveness. And the main idea of this week is that atypical families forgive each other. Now, you've probably had to forgive members of your family for things before, but I doubt you've ever had to forgive them for anything as extreme as Joseph experienced. Now, the story goes on, and it turns out that Joseph does rise to power. He ends up having authority over his brothers like he said he would, but he ends up saving them, and they apologize for what they did to him. And the cool thing and the incredible thing is that instead of anger and bitterness, Joseph decides to forgive his brothers despite the fact that they completely did wrong to him. So I want to read you what happens in Genesis 50, verses 15 through 21. This is what it says. When Joseph's brothers saw that their father was dead, they said, "It may be that Joseph will hate us and pay us back for all the evil that we did to him." So they sent a message to Joseph saying, "Your father gave this command before he died. Say to Joseph, please forgive the transgression of your brothers and their sin because they did evil to you. And now please forgive the transgression of the servants of the God of your father." And Joseph wept when they spoke to him. And his brothers also came and fell down before him and said, "Behold, we are your servants." But Joseph said to them, "Do not fear, for am I in the place of God? As for you, you meant evil against me, but God meant it for good, to bring it about that many people should be kept alive as they are today." And so I want to encourage you, whatever it is that you're struggling to forgive a family member for, let this be an example that no matter what you feel like has been done to you or what has legitimately been done to you, we have the choice to forgive. I know for me, the greatest motivator for my forgiveness is thinking about and remembering the fact that Christ forgave me. And Romans 5:10 tells us that he forgave us and died for us even when we were his enemies. And so if Christ can die for one of his enemies, then I can forgive someone who does me wrong. And so that's my challenge for you this week. I hope you have an awesome week.